I don't do savory stuff often, but when I do. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda, and today we're talking about bread and potatoes, which, what more could you want? Today I am giving you guys my favorite and base focaccia recipe that I have been making all summer long. Somebody recently told me that focaccia is like the meatloaf of baking. Yeah, you know, it's a blank canvas. You can throw whatever you have on top of it and it's pretty much always gonna be delicious. Now, like, would I say meatloaf? I don't know. I spent a really long time thinking about what my personal perfect focaccia is and developing a recipe that really hits all of those markers. I think I nailed it. I think I'm at my perfect base focaccia recipe and I'm very excited to share it with you all. I think focaccia is the perfect summer bread for multiple reasons. Obviously, there's a ton of produce that's available right now that you can just throw on focaccia and it's always gonna be delicious. So this recipe came about because in the spring, I saw somebody make a potato and leek sourdough, but it got me thinking about my personal favorite ways to eat potatoes. German potato salad is just at the top of my list, if I'm being honest. It's served warm. It includes bacon, red onions, and like chives or green onions. I love all of those things. And it has a little bit of like a vinegary taste to it, and I love when something tastes a little vinegary. And I wanted to put that on my focaccia. So that's what I did. But the nice thing about focaccia is that you can customize it. So if you want to make this base and then put something else on it, absolutely do that. If you want to put nothing on it and just do like a garlic and sea salt focaccia, I did that with this base and it was delicious. If you want to raid your garden at home and you want to put like zucchini and tomatoes and bell peppers on it, add some herbs and make it like an herby thyme rosemary situation, oh my god, I support you 100%. But I think that this base is perfectly applicable for all of your focaccia needs, and I can't wait to share the recipe with you. So when developing this recipe, I was like, what makes my favorite, most perfect focaccia? And there's like a few things that I look for. One, I look at the big bubbliness of it, right? So lots of CO2, lots of big airy bubbles, a very nice large open crumb structure. I also love for the interior to be like almost wet looking, so that comes from like a really high hydration, so lots of water. I also love when it has a little bit of that chew and that really nice complex fermented flavor to it. So let's start with the flavor of it and the fermentation of it. There's a lot of really good focaccia recipes that use sourdough starter, which is going to give you that like really good slow fermentation flavor. However, I think for my base focaccia recipe, the one that I'm going to be using over and over, that's like my gold standard, I didn't really want to use sourdough. I do think that's something that I will visit later on down the line. For this recipe, I am sticking with just a yeasted traditional focaccia recipe. So in order to get that really good complex fermented flavor, we are doing an overnight rest on it. I actually mixed my dough yesterday and filmed that whole process yesterday and left it in the fridge overnight, so we're going to be going over that. If you do want to do this same day, you absolutely can. There is enough yeast in here to support a same day bake. You would just go straight into the bulk proof at room temperature rather than leaving it in the fridge to bulk ferment overnight. It's still going to be delicious. Absolutely, but it's going to be even more delicious if you let it rest overnight. Do whatever works for your schedule and whatever works best for you, but if you have the choice and you have the opportunity, I would definitely try doing a bulk ferment overnight in the fridge. Next, I want to talk about hydration and flour type. Focaccia is traditionally a very high hydration dough. Hydration refers to how much water is in a dough recipe in comparison to the flour. So if your flour is 100%, that's your base recipe that you compare everything to. The weight of the water would be 80% of the weight of the flour. So if you have 1,000 grams of flour in a recipe, 80% hydration, which is what focaccia normally is, would be 800 grams of water. I think I do like a much deeper explanation of hydration in my baguette video that I did a couple years ago, so definitely check that out. So basically, a higher hydration is gonna give it that really nice open crumb structure. It's what you see in a lot of sourdough breads, and it's gonna give you that really nice, like almost wet looking interior. I really wanted to push the envelope on hydration and giving it a really nice internal structure. So I went for an 85% hydration, which doesn't sound like a lot of extra, but it does drastically change the texture of your dough. And in order to accommodate the extra water, we're doing an all-purpose flour bread flour split. The addition of the bread flour is gonna increase the protein content of our dough because bread flour is like tougher, has more protein in it, and it's kind of like meant for this stuff. And it's also gonna give us a really nice chew and a really nice texture. You can absolutely do all-purpose flour for this recipe, but unfortunately it's not gonna hold up to this level of hydration, so you're probably gonna have to hold back some of the water. Pros and cons, you know what I mean? Pros and cons. So once I knew what hydration I wanted to be, the type of flour I wanted to use, and the fact that I wanted to do like a nice cold ferment, the recipe kind of wrote itself, and I've made it multiple times. I've brought it to work, I've shared it with tons of people. I think this focaccia recipe is really easy and really approachable if you've never made focaccia before, but all of those things are gonna kind of set it above like a basic regular focaccia recipe, and in a way that's not super difficult for you to do at home. So without further ado, I am going to pop you guys over to yesterday Amanda, who mixed the dough and got it ready for us to bake off today. This section of the video is getting filmed the day before everything else, and even though that literally doesn't matter, it's still a recipe video and I'm still shooting it. It for some reason feels like a behind the scenes, even though if I hadn't said anything, you guys probably wouldn't even know it wasn't on the same day. I don't know where I'm going with this. The dough is mixed. So this part, what we're doing right now, this is not bulk fermentation. This is just like extended mixing time, basically. All we're looking to do right now is form some gluten slowly and let it relax in between the stretch and folds, and then the bulk fermentation will happen after that. If you're doing the fridge fermentation like I am doing today, you can use warm water. It doesn't really matter that much. Like warm out of the tap water. Like it's probably gonna be around 90 degrees, 85 degrees. Like you don't want it to be super warm. It's gonna be sitting for a while, and we really don't need to get the yeast that excited and ready to go right away if it's gonna be sitting for like 10 hours. This part right here will probably take about an hour. We're gonna do some stretch and folds every 20 minutes or so, and then it's gonna go straight into the fridge. So I'm gonna come back when it's time to do the first stretch and fold. But right now we're letting it rest because I just mixed the crap out of it and it needs a break. Yeah, I figured out why this feels so weird. It's because I never film at this time, and the sun is impossible to work with right now. It's time for our first stretch and fold. This is like a gentler way of building strength in your dough. If we were to put this on the mixer, it would certainly be faster, but you run the risk of having a more closed structure and you miss out on those really nice, hydrated, giant air pockets. We're gonna do what's called a stretch and fold here. So here's what you're gonna do, okay? I have some water in this deli here. I'm just gonna wet my hand. And when we say stretch and folds, you scoop up some of the dough with your hand. You're gonna give it a nice pull and fold it over. Really exaggerate that. Go all the way around the bowl. And it's already coming together way more and looking way more like a dough than before. Like before when I mixed it, it was so shaggy, and now I can pick it up. So like fold it in on itself all the way around until I get to where I started. That's pretty much it. Using a wet hand keeps the dough from sticking to you for the most part, but you know, you do what you can. So I'm gonna cover this and let it go for another 20 minutes. Okay. Which will relax the gluten after I've just like stretched it all out. Once again, it'll be ready for another round of stretch and folds. So basically I'm like really bad at remembering the stretch and folds I've done and how long it's been since I've done a stretch and fold. And it's happened before where I walk away for what I intend to be 30 minutes, and then an hour later I remember that I have dough sitting in my kitchen. So I like to keep like a little mini schedule of my stretch and folds, like when I'm supposed to be doing them, and then I'll check off when I've done each stretch and fold. I mix this at 5:30 and it's 5:50. My next stretch and fold is at 6:10. I'll be back in 20 minutes. I'll show you guys the progress of the dough with each stretch and fold and kind of like how it is looking better each time we do this, so that you can really understand how we got from that really shaggy dough at the beginning to the beautiful dough we'll have at the end. So the sun has finally released me from its clutches. Here is our finished dough. We did a total of 4 stretch and folds. It took an hour and 20 minutes. I kind of did my best to show you what a good like stretch and fold looks like. You don't want to just pick the dough up and fold it in on itself. The best way to do it is to actually grab dough, pull on it a little bit gently, not enough to like rip it, but pull on it to really actually fully stretch it, and then fold it over on itself. And then towards the end, usually I'll do a couple of coil folds, which is when you just grab the dough from both sides and pull upwards so that it kind of folds in on itself. And I do that a lot towards the end, like the 3rd and the 4th folds, because I'm trying to be more gentle with the dough and I want to make sure that I'm not ripping anything or breaking anything. But as you can see, the dough is a far cry from what it was when we first mixed it, and it looks like nice and smooth. I feel like I'm holding a fish. Anyway, the fact that I can hold it and it's nice and smooth lets me know that I've done some really, really good work here. There's also a tiny bit of bubbling on the surface. I don't know if you can see that or not, which is also a good thing because that means that the yeast has started to activate and the dough is holding onto it. So all good things across the board. So at this point, we've just been doing this at room temperature because we weren't trying to proof anything. We were just trying to work on the strength of the dough. If you wanted to bake it off day of, just move this to a warm spot and let it proof until it's doubled in size. It should take about an hour, but what we're gonna do today is put this in the fridge and let it ferment overnight. I'm gonna cover this, put this in the fridge, and I will see you guys tomorrow on the actual full film day. Yeah. A recipe that has high hydration like focaccia or sourdough. They're very intentional with their mixing, and if you were to pop this into a mixer, you would kind of push the gluten formation and make your dough have like a really closed, very tight structure, and that is not what we want today. So we're being gentle we're being loving, and we're being kind to our dough. So in the fridge, at least overnight, up to 24 hours, it is going to ferment. The flour is going to fully hydrate, and it is going to bubble up and double in size. I liberally oil my pan with olive oil. Olive oil is what's going to give your dough that really nice, deep golden color and that really crispy exterior. I pop my dough inside the greased tin and then give it another kind of stretch and fold, coil fold, if you will. I do this really gently because I do lose a lot of air, but I try to maintain as much as I can. Basically, doing the stretch and fold is going to redistribute the CO2. It's going to reintroduce the yeast to new food sources, and it's going to smooth out the dough. It's kind of like doing a pre-shape if you make a baguette or some kind of shaped bread. And then I just cover that and let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes just at room temperature to relax again. And then I can use some oiled hands to start to spread the dough into the pan. It's not going to fully fill the pan out to start. Not until it starts to relax a little bit will it do that. And so I just get it usually as close as I can, and then cover it and get it ready for the proof. So this final proof will take 1 to 2 hours. If you made the dough same day and you're baking it off same day and it was never in the fridge, it'll probably take about an hour. If you're putting it in the fridge overnight like I did today, it's probably gonna take closer to 2 hours because you need the dough to come to room temperature before it even gets warm enough to start proofing. So it does take a little bit longer, unfortunately, but that's bread, baby. While our dough is proofing in the pan, we're gonna talk about the toppings for this focaccia. There are 3 main parts. Like I said, you can customize things and change things however you'd like, but for the purposes of this recipe, there are 3 main parts. Those are the potatoes, red onions, and bacon. So to start, we're gonna talk about our potatoes. I am using these mini potatoes, these like cutie little fingerlings, because I like the difference in color. They just kind of cook faster. I'm gonna be using a mandolin on one of the larger settings just so that cutting them is faster and I can make sure they're all even. But if you're doing this by hand, you want to do no more than 1/4 inch, probably closer to 1/8 of an inch, because we want the potatoes to actually cook in the oven, and if they're too thick, then they just get kind of like warm. They are just like soggy and they don't cook all the way through. So I'm gonna use a mandolin for that. I'm also gonna use a mandolin for my onion. The onion is gonna go into the oven about halfway through baking, just because I found that obviously if you put the onion in with everything else really early on, they just kind of like char and burn. So about halfway through baking, we are going to put this in, but I'm gonna go ahead and prep it now. And then the bacon. When you bake with bacon, you don't wanna put it in raw, but if you cook it all the way, like if you really like a crispy piece of bacon, basically you're gonna burn the bacon in the oven and it's just gonna get really tough. You're gonna wanna cook it, but enough to render out the fat and get it started, but not so that it's like totally crispy. So unfortunately, if you like a crispy piece of bacon, you're gonna have to hold back for this. This is up to you. Like how much of this stuff that you want to put on is pretty much up to you. I believe I used about 5 pieces of bacon for this because I really like bacon, but I'll put the exact measurements of what I use in the full recipe. I just kind of like eyeballed it up until this point and just like went with the vibes and like what looked good. We're gonna start with prepping our potatoes. I'm gonna go ahead and start slicing these. One thing that you do have to do with your potatoes before you bake them is soak them. That just cleans off a lot of the starches on the potato and make it so that they actually cook up really crispy. I've done this before without soaking the potatoes, and the potatoes did not cook. They were not pleasant to eat at all. They were kind of like tough. So definitely do not skip this step. It has to soak for at least 30 minutes, but you can leave them in there for like an hour. So ideally you would soak these when you're proofing your focaccia. Like if you skip the soaking part, don't even bother putting potatoes on there because it's not gonna be good. It started raining, so hopefully you can't hear that, like the thundering and everything over me. So our focaccia is ready to go into the oven. You saw her before this. It was just like super jiggly and had nearly filled the pan. And I oiled the whole surface and my hands so that nothing would stick to my hands and dimpled it. The dimpling is mostly to like even it out. Like when you see people dimple focaccia, so that it rises evenly and you don't get like a dome in the middle, and to like spread out all of the CO2 that has built up. I love a big air bubble, but the two that had formed when I dimpled, I popped because I was worried they were gonna burn. A couple of more air bubbles have formed since then that I'm keeping, obviously, like that little guy. Look at that. You see that? We're keeping that. Everything is very liberally oiled and greased so that nothing sticks to anything and we get a really nice crisp exterior. This is gonna go into a 450-degree oven. I'm pretty sure everyone's oven goes up to 450 at least. The potatoes and the bacon are on here. It should take 20 to 30 minutes to bake, and halfway through that we're gonna top with our red onions. I did top with some flaky sea salt and some cracked pepper, fresh cracked pepper, because I'm so hungry. I'm gonna throw this in the oven and then we eat. Actually cannot impress upon you how little sun there is right now. It started to torrential downpouring and it's like nighttime in here. So anyway, ta-da! I am so obsessed with this focaccia. I've made this a couple times. It's so good. Please look at the bread, not me. Like how soft it is inside and how crispy the outside is. And the chew from it is fantastic. I mean, like, come on. The bread part alone is so good. But then you add all the other stuff on top of it, it's a meal, it's brunch. I'm taking this to my next party, my next summer pool party. So I hope you guys give this focaccia a shot. If you do try it, let me know. Let me know what you end up putting on it. If you try the German potato salad inspired toppings, or if you kind of riff off of that and do something on your own. So one last thing I did for the topping on this that I don't think I mentioned is the final flavor profile of a German potato salad is that like vinegary flavor. I was having a hard time figuring out how to add that in because originally I was soaking the potatoes and the onions in vinegar and topping it with that, and it tasted great, but vinegar as an acid prevents browning, which is why you soak apple slices in lemon juice or white vinegar to keep them from browning, which is counterintuitive to making bread because you want it to be brown. What I landed on was after it comes out of the oven, while it's still warm, right before you put the green onions on top, soak the top in a little bit of apple cider vinegar because the bread is still warm. It just kind of sucks it right up on top of the potatoes and everything, and it's just so delicious. But that's totally optional. If you're not about that life and you're not a big fan of vinegar, you can totally skip that step. If you wanted to make this like a more basic focaccia, this is also a really good height to split in half and use for sandwiches. I do love a focaccia sandwich. So I think I covered everything. If not, editing Amanda can take care of what I missed. I'm so sorry that this video was late. I had obviously intended for it to go up a while ago, but June has been crazy. I've had a lot of commitments that I've had to take care of, and testing this recipe took longer than I anticipated, which kind of set me back from the beginning. I just wanted to make sure that I put out something that I was really happy with and something that I felt was easily accessible to everybody at home. We haven't done like a good savory bread in a while, like a non-enriched, good, solid bread recipe in a while. Most of the bread that I think I've posted is like enriched brioche style, which is hilarious because that's not even what I make most often at home. It's mostly like focaccia and sandwich bread and stuff like that. I'm not really sure why that is. I love bread so much, and I felt like a good solid focaccia recipe definitely deserved a spot on my channel. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the recipe. The full method of prep and ingredients list can be found on my site, which I will link down below, as are all of my socials, so you guys can tag me and ask me any questions as they arise. Like I said, if you try it out, let me know. I love hearing what you guys have made. Thank you for all the love on my last video. A lot of people have made, especially the banana bread cookies, and I'm so excited that you guys like that recipe as much as I do. Definitely tag me and send me messages with all the stuff that you guys have made, and let me know if you guys have any comments, concerns, recipe recommendations, if there's anything that you'd like to see a recipe for, or kind of like an in-depth video for. Leave it in the comments down below and I will do my best to make it happen. I do have my summer recipes kind of picked and planned, but I am starting to plan my fall videos, my fall recipes. So if you have anything you'd like to see in the fall, definitely let me know and I'll add it to the list. Make sure to like the video and subscribe. And if you've made it this far into the video, let me know what's going on your dream focaccia. I feel like there are endless possibilities, both savory and sweet, that you can put on focaccia. And now that's all I'm thinking about. I've made cinnamon roll focaccia before. I've also done like a caramelized onion and roasted garlic focaccia. What about like a sour cream, onion, and chive focaccia? I don't know where the sour cream would come in, but someone get on that. That is all that I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you are all happy and safe wherever you are in the world. I am sending love and light to you, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. I've been filming all day. This is my lunch and my dinner.